Aloha and welcome to Wind in Her Hair. Guaranteed no BS, real breakthroughs, raw truths on mindset, love, sex, purpose, and so much more. This is about getting wind in your hair, getting unstuck, being free, and stepping fully into who you were meant to be, starting right now.
Aloha, welcome to Wind in Her Hair. I'm Anna, your host, and this episode is all about what makes you truly high value. So I use this term a lot on my social media, talking about high value people versus bench warmers. And by the end of this episode, you're going to be able to walk away. You'll be able to understand the difference between the average people, basically the 97% of the world, and the 3% club, basically the 3% that actually invest in themselves. These are the ones who are whole, aligned with their vision and their purpose. They're grounded, they're magnetic, because they spend the time, the energy, the resources to level up and become a better version of themselves. So I have my laptop here to keep me on track because your time is valuable and I don't take it lightly. The first question here is, are you actually high value? So some of the clients that I coach, they say that they have no trouble attracting high value women. These are the men, of course. And they say they're actually dating high value women. And I'll get into what a high value person is. And so I said, okay, really? What makes her high value? Oh, she's really hot and she is super nice and she takes care of herself and she's nice, very nice. So then I asked, okay, well, is she a builder? Does she build with you? Is she pouring into the relationship and is she pouring into herself? No. Every man I've coached is not dating a high value woman. And so what makes you high value is, yes, every person has value. Don't get me wrong. Every person has value, but some people live like they don't value themselves and some people do live like they do. The ones who don't value themselves, they're the ones who are stuck and they tolerate toxic relationships and breadcrumbs and they get stuck in addiction. And the people who do value themselves, they're the ones who went through hell and they were so miserable. They decided to level the F up and get healing, reinvent themselves and decide to live each day to the fullest and look at each day like it's a bonus. Because of the pain and the heartache and the loss, the grief, everything that they went through. So I use the terms bench warmers and first round draft picks also in my social media. And it's because when my ex-boyfriend used to tell me that I'm a first round draft pick and I didn't know what that meant until he told me. And so I thought I need to take this analogy and I need to help men understand because most men are into sports. I wasn't raised around sports. Well, I did ride horses and I surfed. I don't know if that counts. I realized that the bench warmers are the people who don't invest in themselves. They're the ones who play games. They're manipulative. A lot of them are narcissistic. They carry around chips on their shoulders and baggage on their backs, and they expect other people to heal them and to make them happy. And so those are the bench warmers. They're not going to pour into the relationship. They're not going to invest. They aren't even going to play the game. They're just sitting on the sidelines, taking from people and waiting for people to show them their purpose, really. The first round draft picks, those are the people, the top picks. They're the ones who have been investing in themselves and who have dealt with their childhood wounds and their limiting beliefs and understand their triggers and their negative patterns and the loops that they get in. They have emotional regulation, emotional maturity, and they know they are basically securely attached. So if you're familiar with the attachment styles, I will add a link in the show notes. If you don't know your attachment style, take the short quiz, figure it out so you don't keep attracting the wrong people and you can understand why you keep doing what you're doing in relationships if it's negative. So the high value people are the ones who are now securely attached. They know how to deal with conflict. Conflict doesn't scare them. Side note, conflict is not yelling and shouting and getting angry and throwing tables. I don't think most people throw tables. Chairs. An alternative word for high value, if you don't like that word, is aligned, magnetic, rare, grounded. What else? First round draft pick. These people are anchored on their good character. They care about fulfilling their purpose and adding value and impact to other people's lives. And when you are grounded and anchored on your character, and you make better choices and you are consistent with these better choices, you become naturally a person who values themselves and you become high value and you attract high value people. So I want to talk about the 5 pillars of high value people. And then we're going to talk about some myths at the end. I'm going to give you some action steps on how to level up and become more high value if you're not. I mean, we can all of us, including me, become more high value. I notice the way that I parent sometimes, I tell my kids, hey, give me feedback. I want to know how to be a better mom. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I know that I haven't arrived perfectly this side of heaven. So if I'm doing something that hurts you or doesn't sit right with you, please tell me. I want to level up. I've been a parent now for 21 years, almost 22 years. I still see ways that I have to change. And for example, the attachment styles, you can be one attachment style with your family members, and another attachment style with your friends, and another one with your romantic partners. And so with my children, I tend to be a little bit more anxious, preoccupied, which is interesting because in relationships, I'm fearful avoidant. Well, first, securely attached. I've done the work. But my second is fearful avoidant. And your second is just as important because that's where the issues arise from in relationships. So we're going to talk about some action steps, and then we will close it out with a little recap. So let's jump into the pillars. Pillar number 1 is self-mastery. Now, I'm not talking about becoming a monk and going on this 5-year journey. I'm talking about baby steps daily for the rest of your life. We're talking about emotional regulation, keeping promises and commitments, having integrity, building confidence. You're not born with confidence. You cultivate it in your life through a series of steps and practices and habits. And we are talking about incorporating good routines and habits into your life. Investing your time, not spending it, investing your time into things like listening to good audiobooks or reading good literature or listening to motivational YouTube videos. I do that all the time while I'm working out. I'm constantly educating myself, either about wealth building or about attachment styles or psychology or spiritual truths. Learning how to work out better, how to eat better, like taking certain vitamins and minerals, things that help with my hair growth and my skin and my nails and all of the things. And so this is all about mastering yourself. So self-mastery is essentially you are spending every single day pouring into yourself so that you can pour into other people better. And you value yourself so much, you are not going to let yourself get away with shit. All right? You are going to take responsibility for where you are in life. You are not going to put blame on other people. You don't talk crap about other people or gossip or complain. There are so many little yet profound habits that you will incorporate into your life as somebody who has mastered themselves. And number 1, they don't let themselves fly off the handle and become emotionally unregulated. That is a big no-no. You cannot call yourself high value and fly off the handle, curse at your family, and have a lack of integrity. That is not somebody who values themselves. Number 2, purpose. I love this one because everybody has a purpose. And when you know what your purpose is, it changes everything. A lot of people just walk through life aimlessly, wandering. It's called drifting. So if you haven't read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, it's one of my favorite books, and it's an older book, but it is life-changing. And talks about how Napoleon Hill had an interview with the devil. And the devil said that one of the tactics that he uses to get people to be unproductive in life and miss out, not fulfill their potential, their purpose, is to get them to drift. And drifting it's bad because it blinds you from how far you have drifted from your potential. It gets you to a place where you think that you're okay, that is good enough. You're fine. And it's a lie. Because these are the people who get distracted with worldly things and pop culture, having their show to watch every single night, and eating their crappy food and not having a workout routine, not having a morning routine. They are so freaking lazy and complacent. So drifting is something that you really need to open up your eyes, and you need to see how far that you have drifted from your potential. Now, when you are living your purpose, you have clarity, you have direction, you have vision, and you love waking up in the mornings. You know your gifts and your talents. You know that you're impacting people's lives. You're adding value to this world. You were doing what you were meant to do instead of waking up every morning, going to the same mundane, mediocre job, maybe partying on the weekends, not having any real hobbies. It's just that's your norm. I talk a lot about this too, that is your norm. But you need a new norm. Well, you might need a new norm if you're listening to this. And I love it because my new norm is so different from my old norm. And it takes energy and effort and being intentional to go from your old norm to your new norm. But once you get there, it's so natural. It's habit. You don't have to give it any much thought at all. It's amazing because I think if I was in my old norm, first of all, I can never go back to that ever. I'm so thankful where I am now, and I would never want to regress. And so I'm telling you now, imagine your new norm. You're going to get there if you take baby steps, but you will never get there if you don't take at least one step and you have that desire to want a better life. So that's purpose. And the way that you find your purpose is understanding what your gifts are, what you're good at, what your talents are. I love the quote that says, "What lights you up is your passion. What lights others up is your purpose." I hope I got that right. And so if you have a relationship with God, I mean, you could always ask him too. You could ask your higher power, whoever that is, because most likely he knows you well. God knows all of us. He knows what our gifts are and what we were meant to do. So you could just kind of bypass the wandering phase and just go straight to the source. Just a suggestion. Number 3, relational intelligence. So this is the third pillar. Having boundaries, communication, and creating safety. So when you can create boundaries, it literally eliminates so much heartache in your life. A lot of people, I realized through coaching, do not even know what a boundary is or how to set it. So let's jump into that quickly. A boundary is clarity plus follow through. So being really clear on how you allow people to treat you. And then following through with what you decide, because if you don't follow through, you're a freaking pushover, right? And nobody likes a pushover. So for example, a boundary is not telling somebody how to treat you, because you can't control other people, but you can control yourself when somebody treats you a certain way. So you could tell somebody, hey, if you decide to raise your voice at me, that's fine, but I'm not going to stick around. So you're telling that person, if they do A, you're going to do B. And then you follow through with it. You don't stick around and listen to them yell at you. And you don't need to freak out either and match them, because when emotions are high, wisdom is low. So if you tend to fly off the handle or get triggered easily, the best thing for you to do is to practice removing yourself from a high emotion situation and give yourself a timeout. So remember that setting a boundary is not telling other people what to do. And it's not a boundary if you don't follow through with it. It's both clarity plus follow through. So communication. You cannot have a satisfying, healthy relationship without healthy communication. And that means being able to communicate your needs, not passive aggressively, just simply, hey, I would love to spend more time with you. I'm a quality time kind of girl. I need to spend more time with you. I want to. How can we make this work for both of us? You're communicating. There's no manipulation. There's no control. There's no gaslighting. There's no passive aggressiveness. And also being able to receive feedback is huge. One of my favorite quotes is just feedback is a gift. I didn't see feedback as a gift for most of my life up until probably 10 years ago. And I realized that anytime somebody gives me feedback, I can take it with a grain of salt. But most of the time, if you have no ego, you can receive that and it will enhance your life. It will add to it for the most part. Now, you don't always have to listen to what everybody says. Sometimes people give me advice and it doesn't work for me. That's fine. You don't have to do what people say. Creating safety. So emotional safety is huge in a relationship, especially for women. There's a few things here. When you can listen to somebody, number one, without thinking what you're going to say next. Be a really good listener, have good eye contact, and when you can validate them, it's huge. Most people don't know how to validate. You're not agreeing with the person every time. A validation is just saying, I hear you. That's simple, and it does wonders. Just saying, I hear you. I can see why you'd be frustrated. I can see why that would frustrate you. And then take responsibility for your part. You don't have to own the whole thing. You don't have to take full responsibility for the whole issue, but you could say, what was my part? My part was, I didn't communicate that I was exhausted and I didn't want to go out to dinner. And instead, you chose to have a bad attitude. Being able to create emotional safety and have a give and take conversation and show the other person that you're listening and that you care and that you're willing to walk through the mud with them. So dismissive avoidance, they're the most difficult people to have a relationship with because they don't like walking through the mud with other people. They really believe that your problems are your problem, their problems are their problems, and you need to deal with them separately. But that is not interdependency. That is independency, which is not a healthy trait for a satisfying relationship. So there needs to be a mix of independence and interdependence. So when you're interdependent, you can both stand on your own. You're fine. But then you can also come together and enhance each other's lives by helping each other, supporting each other. I hope that makes sense. Number 4, contribution and integrity. This is the 4th pillar of what it means to be a high value. Giving more than you take and living aligned. There are 6 basic human needs. There's a lot more needs, but there's 6 basic human needs. And one of them is contribution and belonging. And so when you don't contribute to anybody's life, you are not living to your potential. And you really, whether you probably don't even know it, but you're not in a good headspace. It's not fulfilling to be in a place where you are not contributing to anybody's life. And, we were created to be relationship people. We're created to use what we have, the gifts. You may think you have nothing to offer, but you do. Use what we have to impact and add value to other people's lives. And there's nothing more satisfying than taking what you have, what you've refined, enhanced, what you've, leveled up, and you can take that. Maybe it's a bunch of pain and heartache, but you have healed and you learned the secret to living satisfying, abundant life. And you take that and add it to other people's lives. You teach them that. And to see their lives change, to see the impact that you've made, and then that trickles down into generations, it is so incredibly fulfilling and satisfying. Integrity. Okay, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's looking. And integrity definitely is hard because a lot of people can get away with a lot of stuff. But in the end, all the lies surface. Everything comes to the surface at one point or another. And my thing is, I used to get myself in situations where I would have to lie. And that didn't turn out very well for me. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to stop getting myself into situations where I have to lie myself out of it. So I'm just saying, I need to not get myself into the situation. What do I need to do to not get myself into the situation? I know it's simple, but it's also pretty profound. People don't think about if you get yourself into that situation, what are the consequences going to be? And so I think about the consequences. If I do this, well, I have to lie to this person. If it's yes, then I need to think of another option. Because lying will never serve you or the other person. And when you lie, you don't have trust. And when you don't have trust, you have nothing. You don't have a relationship with that person without trust. Number 5 is a magnetism. I went through a really difficult marriage and I felt a lot of pain and grief and have healed myself. I worked on the things that made me insecure and made me treat people not very well, and was able to receive feedback better and squash my ego. When I got into personal growth, I realized all the changes that I needed to make. And it's been slow moving, right? It's not a fast overnight process. It's not a sprint. It's really a marathon or like even a triathlon. And so as you become confident, as you become secure in yourself, and you are okay being alone for a season, you don't feel the need to get into a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship. You don't find your identity in being in a relationship. And when you have all these things going for you, you give off this magnetic energy. And especially when you're confident, because let's talk about confidence for a minute. Have you noticed that when you are around confident people, it makes you feel more comfortable and at ease versus when you're around people who are insecure? It's awkward. It makes you not want to be around that person. It makes you almost feel sorry for them. It's kind of like walking on eggshells. And so I would highly suggest if you don't feel confident, you can do things to help you become more confident. It's just action steps day after day that make you feel more brave, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, like going and playing pickleball with strangers, going out to eat by yourself, going to listen to live music by yourself. Doing things by yourself helps you become more confident. Also, getting fit, losing weight, getting more ripped. So A huge aspect of being high value, somebody who values themselves, is being magnetic. And essentially that means being very secure in yourself and what you bring to the table. And you take the time and you use your energy and your resources to get fit physically and take care of yourself. And the other thing that really stands out to me is you really care about people. You care about what they have to say. You don't want to just walk all over them and use people and take advantage of them. That's not being high value. And you don't worry about being taken advantage of because you have the insight and the wisdom to discern between the non-authentic people and the authentic people. Yeah, I've had to learn some really hard lessons and I've been duped a few times, but now I can say I can tell rather quickly. I can vet people and I can tell whether they're authentic or not. And that's another thing. High value people are authentic. They're real. They're not trying to hide behind a mask because they are fine with being who they are. They're not pretending like they have it all together. Okay, let's talk about some myths. So high value is funny because when I first started coaching men in their dating lives, they would say they thought that high value was a woman who was hot and had money and status. That's not true at all. You could be a total witch and have all those things, right? But the interesting thing is that when you get into personal growth and you become more high value, you are living out your purpose. You believe that you can make more money. You can believe that you can scale a business, start a company, build an app, whatever it is. You become more confident. There's nothing holding you back. And so people who value themselves, they usually end up becoming financially successful, which means that they can pour into themselves. They can get the gym membership. They can eat better. They can get therapy. They can get facials and get their hair done. And that's why high value people tend to look better because they have the money and resources to take care of themselves. But having the money does not make them high value. Having the mindset to get the money makes them high value. But don't get me wrong. You can be a stay-at-home mom having no income and still be a high value person. But side note, I was a stay-at-home mom. I raised 3 children. I homeschooled them the whole time as well. I thought that I was just a mom. My favorite part of my life was homeschooling my children. I don't regret one part of it. They're my favorite humans on earth. But I also felt, because of my personality, I felt this little nagging feeling that I wanted to do more. I wanted to make money from home. But I just kept thinking, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And you're not just a stay-at-home mom. You have another purpose. You have a gift that you can offer the world. So even if you're a stay-at-home mom, you could still work on that. And the last myth about high value people are it's really who you are when nobody's watching. So if you are high value at home and you're still doing all the things to invest in yourself at home when no one's watching, and you are what you see is what you get in the home and outside the home, behind closed doors, in public, that is high value. But if you're 2 different people, that's not high value. Okay, let's dive into the action steps. So you're going to audit your inner circle. This might be a time to purge your people. If you are spending time with people that doubt you, that put you down, that make you feel bad, their behavior is not loving. It's not honest. It tears you down. It makes you feel shitty, right? So when these people are treating you a certain way, you can stay in that situation and say they're making me feel bad. Or you can say, I'm feeling bad being around this person. I need to remove myself and not stay in this situation because you shouldn't. When these people make you feel anxious, insecure, like you're just an afterthought, and they have you confused and the relationship seems chaotic, that's not healthy. Those are red flags, and you need to open your eyes and you need to hightail it out of that situation because you deserve better. But you're in the situation because you're afraid and you're insecure and you don't want to be alone, because sometimes being in a toxic relationship is better than being alone, especially if you're anxious, preoccupied. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to be worth it to get out of that situation if that's what you're in. So audit your inner circle. I had to do this. I had to cut ties even with family members who betrayed me. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave a toxic relationship, and it'll always work out in your best interest. You will heal, you will get better, you will find yourself, and you'll be okay. You'll be better than you were before. All right, cut one low value habit this week. I love asking people this question. What is not serving you? But name one thing that if you stop doing it, your life would instantly be 50% better. So ask yourself that and figure out a plan to cut that thing out of your life. And choose alignment over validation in your next decision. This is huge. Alignment. When you are aligned with your values and your goals and your vision, you are in a good place. You don't have to worry about being thrown off track when you know what all these things are. But when you make a decision out of validation, that's you wanting the other person to validate you. That's not good. You want to make a decision out of alignment with your values, like what you value in life, and not because of what that other person thinks about you or what their opinion is. So your next decision needs to be aligned with who you are and not aligned with getting validation from that other person. Let's recap the 7 pillars. Number 1, self-mastery. Number 2, purpose. Number 3, relational intelligence. Number 4, contribution and integrity. And number 5, magnetism. It's not all about having money and status and good looks. It's about personal growth. It's about investing in yourself. It's about living like you truly value yourself. And so being aligned and magnetic and rare isn't about being chosen at all. It's about choosing yourself and about being the first round draft pick. Another thing about high value people is that they've really made a huge effort to heal the relationship to themselves. That's the most important relationship you will ever have in your life. And you can't love other people well. You can't love your spouse, your girlfriend, your kids well when you don't love yourself well. When you're beating yourself up, when you're walking in unforgiveness, when your ego is so big it fills a room, that's not you loving yourself. And so I encourage you, if you haven't healed that relationship to yourself, reach out to me or somebody. So I'm a relationship coach and I teach on my method, which is a 7D method. It's all about the 7 pillars of life and helping you level up in all those areas, helping you find the love of your life. A lot of people don't realize that I do help you date better and attract better quality people, but I don't start with external things. I start with internal. I start with helping you heal that relationship to yourself, becoming the right person so you can attract the right person. A lot of people don't understand they have it backwards. They think they attract a high quality person and then they become high quality and their life becomes better and they become happier. That's not true. And one last thing I want to close with is I hear people say that they want someone to complete them, to make them happy. And I challenge you to shift your mindset with that. We don't want to do that. Right? We want to live life now to the fullest without that person. A lot of people see singleness as a holding cell. And they're just waiting till somebody arrives to make their lives better and to start living. No, we're not doing that. We're shifting that. We're going to start living now without that other person. We're going to have our hobbies. We're going to have our workout routine. We're going to have a kick-ass job. We're going to pursue ourselves. We're going to choose ourselves. We're going to be okay being alone. We're going to take ourselves out on dates and we're going to level up ourselves so that when the right person comes into our life, they're going to be a bonus. They're going to add value and peace and energy and support to our lives. So they're not going to complete us because if you need someone to complete you, that means you will never be whole without somebody else. I'm going to include a PDF for you so that if you really want to geek out on this stuff, you can do the work to take it a step further and level the F up. Oh, and one more thing, get some wind in your hair this week. And if you've had a wind in your hair experience, so this is what wind in your hair is. It's pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, doing something you would never do before, becoming courageous, throwing caution to the wind, being bold, loving yourself better. So if you've had a wind in your hair moment this week, I want you to email me and the email will be in the show notes. And please do one thing, share this with a friend. We need to get this podcast out there. It's a baby. We need this baby to grow and I can't do it without you. So I really appreciate your support in liking and subscribing and sharing this podcast. So until next week, aloha and go get some freaking wind in your hair. You showing up matters to me. Now get some freaking wind in your hair. And if this helped you, subscribe. If a friend needs to hear it, share it and leave a review so more people find it.